Oi, oi! I have a feeling that we may be live. It is. I was saying to Jamie, tomorrow we're going to get final declarations. We're going to get the confirmations for the Thursday, the first day of the Grand National Meeting. 3 days of beautiful, beautiful action. We're going to be looking at all 3 days, giving our thoughts on every single one of the races. I'll just give it a sec to make sure that we are live and thriving, and then we'll crack on with it. Anyway, Jamie, just to fill the void, how's things with you? It's been a long, long, long time since Cheltenham. I know we did a bit of Fairy House as well. Racing's been fairly, I want to say thin on the ground, but it has been thin and it's been a bit windy. Aintree this year, though, I think everyone's noticing it, looks like it's going to be one of the best festivals, well, the best renewals of Aintree in a long time. What are your thoughts on it so far? Are you getting excited for it?
Yeah, it's not Cheltenham, Dave. But look, there's decent horses there, to be honest. You can't deny that. Like your champion trainer in the UK targets Aintree instead of Cheltenham. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. So you all British be giving out about our Irish dominating. Sure, your British champion trainer won't even target Cheltenham anymore. But your horse won at Cheltenham, though. Pan Morale.
No, let's not talk about him. They're like semi-sweet, those ones, aren't they? Because obviously it's nice to know that weren't barking up the wrong tree if the horse has got a bit of ability. But when they go and, like, I put him up for an Arkle, didn't I? And he goes and wins a Potemps. That's the reality of where I saw that one. But yeah, there's some good stuff. We said about Paul Nicholls, they're obviously going for the Trainers' Championship. Dan Skelton's in there as well, firing, and he's got a good few darts to go with it. I'm pretty sure if Willie Mullins wins the Grand National, he's got a chance of winning the British Trainers' Championship. So imagine that. He sends a couple over this week and gets a few lucky results. It's going to be interesting. What I'll do is I will pull up the odds checker Racing Post page. I'll do Racing Post page so people can see what we talk about. We'll skim through race by race, give our thoughts on it. There will be some prices that are listed up here. Obviously, it's short-term anti-post. Some of the market moves will be more significant than others. Some of them will be overreactions. We'll just basically allude to what we fancy in the race, and obviously at the prices that they are at the time of recording, in and around whether we'd want to have a bet or not. There's plenty to get stuck into, so let's get stuck in. Kicks off Thursday, the Manifesto Novices Chase. Good race, to be fair. Like, it's one of those we quickly were talking just before we got on air. I've done the cheat sheet stuff for GG, so there's like trendy bits to look at, and I know everyone's like different with trends. I don't use them as the be all and end all for stuff, but it is interesting sometimes when you see a result or there's a certain race that seems to go a certain way every year or seem to get found out a little bit. Sometimes you can look back historically and think maybe certain profiles of horses don't do so well in here. So kind of irrelevant stuff, but we were talking about this race particularly before we came on, and I think all of the last 10 winners failed to win last time out. Look at Grey Dawn, he's 11-8. Very, very good winner at Cheltenham. Dan Skelton said that he's going to come for this trip because of the way the ground is. I was half hoping that he'd be stepping up in trip this time. I see him as a Betfair chase horse for next year. I think plenty of people do, but it looks like it's going to be Grey Dawn and Ginny's Destiny again, a couple of the Irish, and probably a couple more of the British coming over. So for what it's worth, I like Grey Dawning. I think Grey Dawning deserves to be favourite. Not a hope in hell would I be backing Grey Dawning at the price that he is. We know he's a bit roguey with his jumping. Yes, we know he's got a massive engine, but him and Ginny's Destiny had a bit of a battle at Cheltenham. It may be that they've come out of it and they're fine. I think there's a few risks attached with betting him at this short a price, especially considering I do think he should step up in trip as well. It's going to be testing enough ground. I suppose he'll be okay with it. So as it stands at the moment, mate, I would be thinking I'd expect Grey Dawning to win, but there's no way I'll be betting him. This would be a sit back and watch race unless I can find a bit of value at the final decks at a bigger price. But you look at the ones next in, short-term anti-post, mate. 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, 5-1, 8-1. Bet into a massively big percentage there. It's shit in it. What are your thoughts? Grey Dawning, thumbs up, thumbs down?
I'm like you, Dave. I wouldn't be backing with 11-8 at all, like, you know, because the way I look at it, Grey Dawn and Ginny's Destiny killed each other in the Turners, and they were walking up to Cheltenham, and they'd have to take a lot out of him. He is by far the best horse in the race. Look, it's up to you if you want to take 11-8. Found at 50, nah, not for me. Elite Tomp is interesting, but look, as I always say, that's a Leopardstown horse. I'd be very worried on the tight track around Aintree. Corbett's Cross has absolutely no chance over 2.5 miles if he came here. We had a bit of a discussion beforehand. You're like, Jamie. I actually fancy Nickelback. Hasn't been seen since he didn't run. He won the Scilly Isles, wasn't it? I think he's just tailor-made for this kind of track, Dave, over 2.5 miles like the Scilly Isles, you know. Just go out in front now. Your biggest problem, obviously, is Ginny's Destiny's a front runner, but I don't think you can get anywhere near him, to be honest with you. And look, this horse hasn't got a Cheltenham, and he's 8-1. Look, it's by process of elimination. I'm not a huge fan of the horse, to be honest with you, but it's just the way he won the Silly Isles and it's the way the track is in Aintree. I just say, like, and the way Ginny's Destiny Great Dawning had a hard race in the Turners. Yeah, I just couldn't put anyone off each way at 8-1 top price there. Like, do you know what I mean? It's no confidence selection. Like, you can't be 100% confident in Aintree, full stop. But it's just, I was kind of impressed with him in the Silly Isles, to be honest. And I think if he gets a freebie, he'd be hard to catch.
Yeah, like it. I do feel like this is the type of race. Obviously, everyone's got different opinions. There will surely be someone out there that's very bullish and is going to have a 10-point win on something in this race. But it always feels like this race year after year, it's the mid-trip horses, right? They're not. I'm not saying they're tripless, but I like a 2-mile speedy merchant or I like a 3-mile stayer. I like them to be confirmed where they're going in terms of ability. When you get these middly horses that you don't really know if they want the trip or not, especially for novice chasers, I think you're never going to be able to, in my mind, you're never going to be able to have like a 5-point Napo bet in a race like this when they're priced as they are. Like, obviously, if Grey Dawning was a 4-1 poke now, you'd be tempted to bet him. There's obviously semi-price related, but I still think it's a race where there's plenty of better opportunities to get stuck into. So let's move away from that and see where we go. Also, for all of you that are watching, I would be very interested to know what your fancies are in any of these particular races. If you've got no comment or no view, then you don't have to say anything. But if you have got a strong opinion, chuck it in. And I mean, if I want to talk about it, we will. I'm the boss, right? The Juvenile Hurdle, Jamie. This was one where, I mean, possibly painful for people if I say this stuff, but it's not half the time and I haven't bet the horse. When these entries came out for the Thursday, so they were out last Friday. I had a quick call with Daryl just before his birthday because I knew he'd be busy. And we were talking and he said, yeah, what do you think of Segino being 13-8? And I said, fuck, who the fuck's he 13-8 with? And it was Ladbrokes Coral. Long story short, my local Ladbrokes, even if they priced up the race, just say to me they haven't got prices unless it's today. It's a bit awkward, couldn't be bothered. But that was a bettable price, right? I had this card, regardless of who runs. Like, even if Cargies came, but I don't know if she would. I think she's the one that would be potentially popular. She's too short anyway. I had Segino as a long odds on shot in here. I say long odds on. I'd have him as like a 4-60 poke. These sort of prices are tempting to bet, but it is short term anti-post. And you know, with Nicky Henderson, not to be rude to him, this doesn't mean to be in a bad way at all, but the horse could scope dirty and not be declared, or all that sort of stuff. And I don't want to be betting short term anti-post and wait till final decks to bet him. But the long and the short of it is, mate, I would have smashed into Segino if Nicky Henderson had run him at Cheltenham, regardless of all the bug and stuff that's potentially going around there, because the horse is just an absolute weapon. And some of them did run all right, like Lucia ran all right at Cheltenham. Obviously, they've had some time to sort themselves out. I do worry a tiny bit about that, because you remember when Braveman's game went at Cheltenham, didn't run. Nicol said that he run his race, though he'd wasted it a bit. It has to have an impact on horses in some way, shape, or form. So it's going to be a little bit of a question mark about it. But I do think that Segino is just still by far the best juvenile I've seen all season. What we saw in the Triumph just confirms that for me even more. I think Segino will obviously, I think he's going to absolutely shit home. I don't think the 5-4 or even money about him will be about when it comes to the day. So he will be one that I will be having a sensibly large bet on, I think. I'd quite happily do it. I'll do all my bets below so people see what I staked, but I feel like I'd quite happily have a couple of £100 on him at even money or a bit bigger. It depends how short he goes. If he goes too short, I might have to leave him, but I think he's a good thing. Am I wrong, Jamie? Am I right? I know that there's potentially that some of his form's not going to work out as good as it was earlier in the season. Doesn't look maybe so good now, but Segino, he's so much better than all of these. I know Khalif de Burle hasn't run yet, but Segino, the one, surely?
No, he'll win, Dave, if he runs it. If he doesn't run, Khalif de Burle will win. That's it. All I said about the rest. Cargies, hard race to Cheltenham. Caliconti, not good enough. Nürburgring's not bunting. The rest of them are no good. So, like, it's just process elimination again. Sergino wins. He'll absolutely hose up. If he doesn't, Khalif de Burle will win.
Nice. And I think just from the previous horses we've had sort of winning, like Monmoril when he beat Adagio a few years back, Nicol kept him back for the race. As much as they looked like they're quite good, like it was a shit enough race that he had to go and win there. You think when We Have a Dream had to miss Cheltenham because of a bit of a setback and came here, he absolutely bolted up. Segino and like Pentland Hills was a more recent example. Pentland Hills and Fakir Doudrous were quite a close headball, weren't they? But Pentland was better at Cheltenham. So I think Segino, if he'd have won the Triumph, would be shorter than this price anyway, but I would probably have more reservations about him running 4 weeks after than I will do what he's doing now. So yeah, I think he's a good bet. So obviously gamble responsibly, but I'd much rather the 5-4 about Segino than the 11-8 Grey Dawning, which some people will think is a bit mad. A lot of opinions, right? Let's get stuck into the next one, right? This is a mad race. I remember last year when Jerry Colombe ran in the whatever it is. I can't remember the I should know, not the Maggle. The Maggle's 2, Manifesto's 2.5, whatever the 3 mile chase is. Do When he ran in this race last year, didn't he? After getting beat at Cheltenham, I think he was 9-4 on the day of the race, and he ended up getting backed into odds on because the ground was a little bit soft, and obviously Davy Russell gave him a nice aggressive ride, and he absolutely shit home. His run in the Gold Cup is, I think, probably different opinions again. We might be different on this, Jamie. I think what he did in the Gold Cup is exactly what everyone expected him to do at the start of the season. And then because things didn't necessarily go to plan, people were a little bit surprised with what he did. But actually, if you go back and think about it, we suspected he was going to be a very good horse. He's shown he's a very good horse. Now he's coming back to Aintree after doing what he did last year. I don't see how this horse gets beat. He is starting to get tight enough now. I think he was 7-4, 2-1 when they first opened up. So that shouldn't make a difference to betting because we're going to have our final fields now. But Jerry Colombe for me is the winner. Admittedly, he's a favourite, so he's getting quite boring on these last few races, isn't it, the way that I'm talking about him. But I think Jerry Colombe's quite good. I'll see what sort of price I can get on the exchange. Some people do like to lay him, but I wouldn't want to be going too much shorter than 6-4 to bet him. I do think he wins, though. What about Shishkin, your old boy? Do you think he's going to batter Jerry Colombe, or do you think Jerry Colombe deserves to be as short as he is?
I suppose if the ground was a bit better, Dave, Shishkin would destroy Jerry Colombe. It's just the ground is coming for Jerry Colombe. There's going to be, looks like it's going to be, not forecasting, but it looks like it's going to be heavy ground, isn't it? I'd be very worried with Shishkin over the 3 miles one on heavy ground. He is a better horse than Jerry Colombe, there's no doubt about that. But I'm starting to agree with you here, like Jerry Colombe, like wouldn't take any, like, you know, he ran in the Gold Cup second. He had a hard race, remember last year against the Real Whacker, and he came here, and now he probably beat nothing. It was a complete unknown or something like that off the top of my head. He beat last year in that 3 mile novice chase. He absolutely hosed up, and he looked like tailor-made Aintree horse last year, and he was very impressive. Like, I couldn't put you off at 6-4. It's short, obviously. If, as I said, if the ground was better, I'd be all over Shishkin, but it's because of the ground. I think Jerry Colombe will win.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because it's like I think it's soft all over at the moment. There's bits of rain forecast. There's lots of wind. There's a couple of dry days, and then a few more showers. So even if the ground does potentially,
if exactly what you said. Sorry, there. If it's soft, Shishkin might get away with it. He probably will. Do you know what I mean? But if there's heavy in places, I'd be more Jerry Colombe. But if they say it's genuine soft, you know yourself, I will back Shishkin. I always back him. But
it's hard, isn't it? Because with the way the weather is, even if they called it soft, we've seen with Cheltenham, right? They called it soft, didn't they, when it was heavy? It's gonna be shit, treacherous ground. They can call it whatever they want to call it on the day. When it's this wet, this windy, then they have like dry spells. It's going to be hard, treacherous going. That might do us a bit of a favour though if it starts to dry out a little bit. Maybe there'll be some money for Shishkin.
Like,
we'll see how
exactly
go,
exactly what you're saying. You touched on something there, Dave, that I'll elaborate on. Is that you maybe wait for the first couple of races, do you know what I mean? And you maybe like, you know, that first race, the Manifesto, you might then be able to judge it, how soft it is, if you know what I mean. You might get it, and then you might see if it's not that bad, you'll see Shishkin come in a bit and Jerry drift maybe. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. Right, let's move on a little bit and crack on with some more racing. Mate, I do love the Thursday. The first day is quite good. And sometimes with Aintree, I feel like there's I probably could get the numbers for this, to be fair. Maybe I'll do that for another video. There seems to be lots of good things that sometimes get beat. Like, I don't feel like it probably feels like more of a favourites graveyard than Cheltenham. We get so used to just betting the favourite, like the first thing they're going to go and win. This year might be a little bit different just because there is some, I think, more depth to the races this year. But then with more depth means that there is more competition. You've got to look at this race, right? That last race we looked at, Jerry Colombe, Shishkin, weapons. As you say, Shishkin, I say, probably is the better horse still. Jerry Colombe's on the way up, and they're both very, very good horses. Bob Ollinger versus Impere Pass, right? We'll quickly just brush over Irish Point, I think, just for the fact that he's weak in this race. He's weak in the Liverpool hurdle. I was going to smash him up on Saturday for that Liverpool hurdle, fully expecting that Tiapu wouldn't go there. I half would have fancied Irish Point to beat Tiapu anyway. As much as I love Tiapu, the quicker turnaround is something that's like a concern. But the reason I'm saying about brushing over him is I don't think Irish Point's going to go to Aintree. So for the purpose of us doing this, I'm going to just remove him from the talking process. Then you start dropping down to like a Langadan, who probably would go in the Liverpool hurdle. You've got Lucia in there, as much as I love her. Nemean Lion, yes, on the soft ground is one thing about him in it, but it looks like Bob skipped Cheltenham specifically for this race. He looked so good in that Real Kill hurdle, didn't he? Impere Pass hasn't necessarily stepped forward like he should have done, but if we go back to that Hatton's Grace at the start of the season, if he'd have had a run under his belt, he would have beaten Tiapu that day. This is his sort of trip. This is his sort of conditions. I mean, looking at those two, if you're seeing 6-4 and 5-2, you're thinking in a match bet, maybe I would be tempted with Impere Pass, but it's again very boring. It's between the two of them. Would you be more likely to trust Bob Ollinger because he's got better recent form, or would you think Impere Pass, skipping Cheltenham and coming here a fresher horse is a good thing?
I think they just thought about the pace of the race from my naked eye, what I saw in the rail keel, because I mean, like, they went a crawl, right, in the rail keel, and she just picked him up for speed. She was out the back of the television, like, and then she just came home and beat him for speed. I'm like, but didn't Bruno up a storm running that rail keel, and then he went on to win at Fairyhouse? That's, I suppose, recent form. Marie's Rock has kind of done it the game. But exactly what you said, you just took the words out of my mouth. Imperial Pass at the moment, technically, has the better form, if you know what I mean. Would it, like, close up against Tupu, Stairs Earl winner, second to State Man. Didn't like making the run in the last day. I put a line through that straight away in the Dublin Race Fest. Just didn't like making the running, right? My only thing is that, is Bob being souped up to what? Do you know, is Bob still a grade 1 horse? If you know what I mean, he's been running around in grade 2s. Do you know what I mean? Is Imperial Pass a grade 1 hurdler? Do you know what I mean? Bar outside in open company. It's a tough one. But I think this is Imperial Pass's trip. And 5-2 is very tempting. I won't, I'm not going to lie to you. It's extremely tempting. 5-2. And I think I'll go for him for the fact that you have to remember too, he beat an Arkle winner easy last year in the Ballymore. And I think he's just better at this trip, and he's been saved, hopefully, for this. It is a match. It's up to you who you want to back, but you know I have a soft spot for both horses, but I have an even better softer spot after the amount of money we won in Imperial Pass last year in the Ballymore. So I'll go to Imperial Pass tentatively.
Yeah, fair enough. And we're like I said, we're going to get final confirmations tomorrow of the final deck. So we'll find out who's in there, depending on how many runners. I don't know whether there would be an each way type of play when you know that probably these two are going to be filling up the frame. Again, though, as I know, like, it is what it is. I can't do anything about what the prices are. They're both just a bit skinny at this point, but I'm sure because it's short-term anti-post, I'm sure there's going to be some more competitive betting markets, some of these, especially when you look at the exchanges. And then that's when price starts to jump in a little bit about these two, because who knows? I don't know, you never know over the next couple of days. We might be able to bet the pair of them or something mad like that. Anyway, everyone's favourite race, the Fox Hunters, where I don't believe it's on the line comes. I'm sure I've heard that from multiple people. So, again, pretty much like the Irish pointy bit. This is with more conviction, though. I'd say that it's still on the line. Isn't going to run in here. This isn't a race that I particularly like. I've had bad record on it. I've had 3 or 4 horses in the past. I think Stand Up and Fight was one of them that I was adamant was a plot for this race, and then didn't quite work out. I'm pretty sure he won over 4 miles. I didn't even win like a Midlands National or something after. So it wouldn't be a race that I particularly like. When I did just loosely do some statty stuff for this, I think Time Leader, Espada Guy came out as one that ticks a load of the boxes. And I think Captain Tommy was the other one that came out as a bit of a box ticker. So is he still in here? Yeah, Captain Tommy, like there, 66-1. So I'd like, this would be a race where I will always have a little bit of a bet in it, but I would probably just have a couple of quid each way, literally a couple of quid on Espada Guy, Captain Tommy, or maybe I'd back him on the exchanges of a free roll A. Is there a good thing in here, Jamie? Because you were so close with It's on the Line. Derek O'Connor just kind of gave it a terrible ride. Let's just make sure we say that publicly. Anything in here?
No, Dave, no. Not for me.
It's a weird one as well, isn't it? Because it's that short trip, and it's the Fox Hunter type ones. Like, it's strange, isn't it? Get Bob on.
I'm just shocked why they ran Ferns Loch in that 3 mile one when he clearly doesn't stay, and why did they bring him over here? Do you know what I mean?
Madness is what it is.
Yeah,
mate.
Madness. I thought it was madness.
Well, that's what makes. But it makes me wonder if in that sort of circle of pointers and hunter chasers, whether they know. But I don't. There's not too many. I think that have been shorties that have won. I think loads get backed and get beat. Anyway, Red Rum Handicap Chase. I did ask the question because a couple of people asked me, so I'll just publicly say this, although it's word of mouth, right? I've asked someone that might know. We don't know if Etalon's going to go here or go for the Novices Chase. The only reason I was asking that to someone was because when he opened up 8-1, I was thinking if he does run here, 8-1's a bit of a price. But you can see Stablemate Unexpected Parties being nibbled in here. Looks like, it looks like it's going to be a good race. I think it always is a nice race. It's another one of those where I try and find the horse that I think will win it. 2 years ago, I bet Dance on my own when he comes second at 25s. Last year's got absolutely no form and hoses up in the race. I think it's just one of those races that I seem to struggle a little bit with it. There is one that I like, but I'm going to let you go first, Jamie, and then I'm going to come back to the one that I've already bet. I will probably have a little bit more on. It's a little bit punty, but I think the price warrants it. So what's your thoughts on the race, mate? It looks like it could be a good race, right?
I had a look at it, Dave, and I'm not overly confident, but I don't actually see the horse that I actually fancy in the bit. Oh, I do. He's there, number 24. Horse for Salamanca Bay. He's been jocked up already. Derek Fox, I think, has been jocked up. I backed him the last day there off 117, and he's gone up £10, but he absolutely hosed him by 14 lengths. And he's just, it looks like a horse that's been up, and I think he's owned by the same crowd as Sleb Delen and all them, a couple of horses that Pipe used to have there, and Philip Hobbs used to have as well, kind of those colours. He just caught my eye when I was going through it today, and I forgot that I actually backed him the last day there, and I was small, stupid bet, messed around, sitting on the couch doing nothing, watching air on a Monday or something. And he's just the way he won, and he looked like a horse on the up. Now £10 is massive. It was a crap race, but it's just something, it's one of those. If he gets in, he has to get in because he's only 9 stone 11, I think. So you need to get in at the bottom and a few horses to come out. So if he gets in off 10 stone, look, it's very tentative. It's a bit punty. Could fall out the back of the television. But I had a bet today or this evening on him at 16 to 1. I just couldn't resist. So maybe a small bunt on him, Salamanca Bay, each way at 16 to 1.
Nice. I mean, you'd fancy he probably would get in, wouldn't you? What's the runners for this? Yeah. What's the field? So I think skip up. It's got to be 20 plus.
22, 24, 22.
18.
Ooh, 18. So he needs 6 to out. So it's touch and go.
Yeah, I reckon he'll get him out. And obviously, the true fact is, Tony Calvin does this on his column. If your horse gets balloted out, you get your money back anyway. So if they confirm it, but there's too many runners, in theory, you should get your money back. So obviously, they want to run if they get a chance, didn't they? Right, enter me and the one that I've bet, right? So obviously, it's all your choice what you do with your own money. It is short-term anti-post. Probably it's like an Emma Lavelle horse for the starters, right? So it's not going to be particularly well-fancy one. So it's up to you whether you want to bet it tonight or whether you want to wait and bet it tomorrow or whether you want to bet it at all. But it is General Medrano's.
I'll leave you talk there, Dave. I'll be back in 1 sec. Talk with me.
Yeah. No worries. Right. Now Jamie's gone, we can give you all the good bits. No, so there's a few things I like about this horse anyway, right? You'll remember the Sandown race at the back end of last season, the Novices Championship final, where Under Control beat Iberico Lord, right? And that race has particularly worked out well for Iberico Lord. Maybe a little bit less so for Under Control, but everyone's got it there to see, right? All think this horse has got a lot more to come. That was on soft ground. This horse, admittedly, was running off 118 back then, was 6 and a bit lengths behind those, back and forth, right? The reason why I bring that up more than anything is that was on soft ground and clearly handled it well enough to still go run a number. Now, of course, gone chasing this season. This is a 2-mile chase. Won at the beginning of the season very, very nicely and then backed it up after as well. But they were in sort of Mickey Mousey type races. But they were at this trip. They were 2 miles, went from 118 very swiftly up to 134. Now, not saying it's exactly the same, but you think of like Unexpected Party when I tipped him up for the Grand Annual, looking at the profile of a horse that is a 2-miler that for some unbeknown reason they decide to step up in trip and then they start to disappoint a little bit and then they chuck them back to the 2-mile trip where they should run and unfortunately they disappoint again and then all of a sudden they start to show some semblance of form again. So long way around with this one. They stepped him up in trip on his 3rd start. Favourite, got beat. Kept him, stepped him up actually another furlong it was. Got beat. It was at Kempton on Boxing Day. Then at Sandown in January, they dropped him back to 2 miles. And it was this is just coincidence more than anything. But it was Sandown that Unexpected Party ran in that Henry VIII where he didn't look so good. But obviously it worked out quite well for his racing after because he got dropped. So he got dropped a couple of pounds to that. Went to Huntingdon over 2.5 miles again. Finished 5 lengths behind Lown Lidgard, but it just wouldn't have got the trip. Didn't like the trip as far as I'm concerned in the slightest. So all of that said, General Medrano is now down to 131. Probably still a teeny tiny bit high for a handicap one that you'd want to fancy a bit, but he's 25 to 1. Like I say, though he's hardly going to be well fancied in there. But I think this horse, regardless of the ground, will run a massive race. And I touched on the cheat sheety bits that I did. I try to look at the races before I do any of those analytical bits because it can skew your view. I'm all right with not doing that. This horse banged everything on there as well, and I know you can use trends to set yourself into whichever target you want, but like this horse for me, from a form perspective and an eye catching for the whole season, General Medrano was a horse that I thought was going to be set up for something in the spring. I would have probably preferred it if it was a little bit better ground, but I think it's the same for a lot of these horses, right? No trainers plotting their horse for Aintree expecting it to be a bog. I think he'll be fine. So General Medrano at 25 to 1, I think is a good price. Obviously, we've talked about it being 18 runners, right? Quarter the odds, 4 places. It will probably be 6 places for some bookies on the day. And even if you were to get 16s about him, you'd probably rather the 6 places, wouldn't you? So I have already bet him. I will bet him again. I give him a bit of a chance. But like I say, towards the front of it, if like an Etalon coming here, you'd expect him to fill the frame. Look at Unexpected Party. He should go well again. There's plenty of good horses in here, but I think at 25 to 1, it's way too big a price. I'd have it about 10s or 12s poke, but we'll see what the bookies do. So, Jamie, did you get back in time to find out that General Medrano was going to win the Red Rum?
You made a great case from
We're
there.
in. Right. Girls bumper. I do actually have one in here that I fancy a little bit as well, but obviously, right? This is a race. I feel like both bumpers for Aintree, the girls and the boys one, right? Personally, have to be much more off of a view type thing, like a feely thing, because I don't think we had enough time to get the substance of the form in there. In hindsight, it sometimes works out nicely, but for Cheltenham, Dublin Racing Festival, they tend to run in certain types of races. They seem to be a bit more key for it. When you get potentially like a better horse that you've already seen from this season running here, I feel like it's an afterthought. Like, I don't think many of the top worldy horses are being saved to win this race when they've got a chance to win at Cheltenham. The ones that come here, I think the connections know they're probably not top tier, but they will have done something, I think, in a race. Maybe if they've only had one start or a couple of starts, they'd have done something that makes you think, wow, they could actually be quite good, but not enough to think they're Cheltenham good, just enough to think that they could be okay good. So there is one that I like in here. Is it a race you've looked at? Did you have any opinion or anything?
I looked at it, Dave. No, I didn't. I suppose the one horse that I will mention that I thought was tailor-made, but she's not running. It was for William was a horse called Maureen. I thought she'd come here, but she might be out till next season. Yeah, but might be in Punchestown maybe. But Baby Kate ran there, then it won at the November meeting, has been seen since. Form that race not great, but no, I didn't come down on anything. There's no point to say anything if I don't fancy anything.
Nice. Right. Well, the one that I did like, and again, this is from a visual type of thing, is Mozzie's Sister. And I can talk as much as I want to talk about it. My advice would be just go watch Mozzie's Sister's bumper run, because it's one of those performances. Again, I feel like you visually need to see something and look at that and go, wow, that's one with a little bit in hand. It was at Cork back in, back in March, like it was about a week after the Cheltenham Festival. Just tanked. And I know that there's all the type of hype horses that are in there, like your Aurora Vegas, that's short. I thought Mozzie's Sister would be single figures anyway. 14s is reasonable. I would definitely wait till tomorrow to see her get declared, but I will be having a bet on Mozzie's Sister. And again, from the size of the field, we can get 20 in here. And normally, because it is a bit of black type for the girls, there will be a big size field. Bookies will got to at least be offering 4 places, if not 5. We know this race can be run quite strangely. Sometimes they come from way off the back. Sometimes something in front just goes and they don't get near them. I will be betting Mozzie's Sister each way, but I half fancy Mozzie's Sister, to be fair. And like I say, when you're potentially getting 4 or 5 places up for grabs, as much as I'd rather on the selections for day one, for example, I'd rather have a good sizable bet on Sergino and take my medicine if he gets beat. One like this, there's only so confident I'd ever get if I'm betting a horse because of the each way side of it. Like I'm hopeful of them placing. I think they've got a chance of winning. Then there's only so expensive I get on there. But like I said, I will share in all my bets video. You'll see exactly what I staked. That might be a job to drive over to Hills if they're doing extended places. Jamie, for Thursday, day one, there's obviously a few chances. We'd have to see what final decks are. What would you say would be your best bet of the day if we had to take a plunge now?
Oh, Sergino.
Good. Correct answer. Right, so everyone's got the chance to double their money. Or if it goes tits up, it's not like the Friday at Cheltenham where we had to wait till the last day for him to run. We've got 2 more days to get our cash back if it has gone tits up. We'll crack in. It's the Mildmay chase. I knew it was the Mildmay. Should have just said it, shouldn't I? It's Maghall, Manifesto and Mildmay. It's supposed to be easy. Right, so this is a race where I think if we were thinking post-Cheltenham, Jamie, 3 mile 1, we might have had an idea of a few horses that might have come here. So I would touched on Grey Dawn, you'd think he'd be here. You'd think Corbett's Cross would come here, but looks potentially like on the betting that he might actually go for the the bowl instead on the first day. Iroko's ran well at Cheltenham, is going to come here by the looks of it, because they obviously want to try him at a trip. Chianti Classico did what he needed to do at Cheltenham by getting his head in front. Maybe won't follow the happy-go-lucky path and running the handicap like he did, because obviously he got the win. Broadway boy, semi-forgotten horse, missed Cheltenham, didn't he? He's going in there. Giovinco, I mean, I'm sure someone at some point will mention that horse for the race. American Mike did beat Factor File, didn't he? Who knows what's going to go on with him one of these days? But it looks like a race to me that, if I talked about it pre-Cheltenham and thought there's one or two horses I want to come here, the one or two horses that I'd want to come here, I don't think are going to run. I wanted to see Corbett's Cross and Grey Dawning go at each other in this. I wanted Grey Dawning to be on the front, and I wanted to see if Corbett's Cross could pick him up. That's not happening. So as it stands at the moment, I'm very lacking in any enthusiasm or confidence for this race. But I do feel like, looking at it, the names that are in there's some good horses. There's horses that have missed Cheltenham for whatever reason. I think there's probably got to be some good chances in it. Have you managed to find out one that you like in here? Is it a race that gets you excited?
If they all turn up, it's very tough. Isn't it? Extremely tough. I suppose, yeah, the one, look, they were the favourite. Like, you only want a Kim Muir, do you know what I mean? He's got up £13 for it. Look, he was a handicap plot, do you know what I mean? And they crawled around the Kim Muir and he just cruised home, do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be getting excited. Same with Corbett's Cross. Like if they go slow, like, it depends on the speed of the race. Like, if they go slow, obviously, whoever runs between the two of them, you'd have to have a chance, because they are the classiest horse in the race. Do you know what I mean? It's just my opinion. If they don't turn up, I don't like the way Rocca ran in the Turner, to be honest. I thought he was very disappointing. But look, he's no experience. Grey Dawning won't come here, and he's definitely go to the Manifesto, but Skelton said anyway, with the ground being the way it is. I don't know why I can come down this horse, to be honest. I don't really fancy him, really, but it's just coming down as another thing, as a process of elimination. That's Broadway boy, because he skipped Cheltenham. I think he could be tailor-made for this, and just buck him out in front and catch me if you can, kind of a job. 8-1, maybe. But like, it all depends how quick and how fast they go, because if it's really soft, heavy ground, that brings in, I know the way you're thinking, and Corbett's Cross, either or. I wouldn't be going mad. I don't really have a full-on good thing here, Dave, to be honest with you. But look, Broadway by each way, 8-1 maybe. Very tentative.
Yeah. I know, I feel similar, mate, because I look at it and I think, I know the way you're thinking one so nicely, like warrants favouritism. And like I say, the way I'm reading the short-term markets, I think Corbett's Cross doesn't go here, which is probably why he's being more supported, because of being the JP stuff as well. I could come in for a bit. Broadway boy, obviously he's missed Cheltenham, didn't he? Because of, I think they had a small setback just before, but I think that would have done him a favour. He's won at Aintree before. It's one of those, isn't it, where, as much as I know the way you're thinking will be staying on nicely, I would like to see Broadway boy bowl out from the front. So I think I'm in a similar camp to you, but I feel like, again, I'm in a similar camp as that first race on the first day, where I don't really want to have a big bet in it. To be fair, it's probably more of an interest stuff. So someone with a stronger opinion will probably tell us. But once we see the final deck, right, like when you're seeing the pace of the race and you're seeing how things are going to work out, it might get a little bit easier to solve. But there's definitely nothing at this point at the prices that's worth stealing, is there? I don't think, before we get final decks. The 2.5 mile handicap hurdle. Look at this, Jamie. 12-1 the field. We've got, what is it, 55 entered, 22 are the max that can run here. Whoa, absolute filthy, dirty race to try and look at. I have got 2 on my short list without seeing final declaration. No, sorry. I say 2 on my short list. I have 1 on my short list, but I will wait for final declaration to bet this one. If they do decide to run this horse, because we know what the trainer can be like, I think in the waterside. No, it's not even Henderson. It's Paul Nicholls. You know, he likes to go for a soft target. If he doesn't,
I thought you were going to say Skelton.
No. Well, Paul Nicholls, as far as I'm concerned, right, if he thinks his horse has got a chance of winning a race and the conditions aren't ideal, he'll skip here and he'll think, I could run him at Sandown, or I could run him at the Scottish National Meeting. Like, he'll know there's other races to go, and like the ground might dry out stuff. In the waterside, right, do you remember when he ran earlier this season? And we talked about, lots of people talked about him being a nice, excited horse. When he just sort of beat Jaguar head bobbing, and I was saying to you, like, he's not that good a horse. I know everyone's talking about him being like a graded type horse. He's 129 rated, Jamie. He is better than 129. Like, he was never going to be a Ballymore horse that people were talking about at the beginning of the season. But surely this horse can run at least to close to 140. I think this horse has got £10 minimum in hand. I like the Aintree form, all for the fact that he did dog it a little bit, because at least he's gone and had a little win round there. And it was his first run, right? Entitled to probably come on for that. I think In the Waterside's got a proper chance. I'll have to trust the trainer more than myself in judgment on what the ground's got to be. But yeah, I think bad ground will actually suit this horse down to, like, will be his ideal. And I reckon after he disappointed first time up, only winning ahead in that race, Nichols must have had a small thought in his head and thought, well, now we can sit back. We actually don't need to do too much with this horse. We'll just let him progress, and then we can smash this. Because they would have been aiming to peak him in the spring anyway, I would imagine, for a horse of this caliber. They probably would have been thinking he would be running in the top novices, I think it is, the 2.5 mile hurdle. That hasn't panned out, but they're in a handicap here off 129. I think In the Waterside's got a right chance in here. How about you, Jamie? Was this a race? Because I know when you talked about it, you've done some of the handicaps, you found a couple in some of them. Do you like anything in here?
Yeah, I really like one here. It's Skelton. No, Katira. I fancy Katira here. I tell you no why I fancy Katira. Randall came back after 110-day break last day, David Kempton, and the Saturday after Cheltenham, and obviously Skelton won the race of Boom Bawn. I know he finished 3 1/4 lengths, and I see Boom Bawn's favourite here. I see the blue here all over here for Katira. Then before that, he wasn't great. She didn't really stay in the 3 mile listed race at Kempton. It's not a 3 miler. Then ran obviously against You Wear It Well in Lucia. Obviously got well beaten, but was well back that day in that listed mares race at Wetherby. But I'm going on the form of last year's 2.5 mile Grade 1 novice and the way she ran, and she was very eye-catching there last year. And obviously the winner was Irish Point. Third was ill-fated Hermes Allen. Let's be clear about Gavin Cromwell. You Wear It Well. Snowden, Springwell Bays, won a handicap this year. Crambo was 7th. Authorized Speed, Blow Your Wad, I'll keep going. That's massive form in my book. And I think she's been trotting around in these races. She's not quite great at level, to be honest with you. And now she's off a handicap off 136. I think she's a right chance. And I think Skelton will be on it. And I think she'll win.
Nice. And the good thing is, I said right at the beginning, right, it's 12 to 1 bar. Obviously, the market's going to tighten up once we get final declarations. We're on the second day now, so they won't be in until Wednesday. There is obviously already some blue that's coming in there, but there's only so short they can get in these types of races, right? It's up to everyone what they want to do with their life, isn't it? But I would definitely be on the side of promoting having a little nibble on Katira, and I do genuinely think In the Waterside's got a proper chance. When you're back in horses at 12 to 1 plus, you can definitely afford to back a couple of them. I know with Cheltenham it's easy to do it because there's longer term anti-post, but this is going to be a 22 runner field. It's going to be competitive. There's going to be extended places up for grabs. There's going to be good prices out there. So don't be scared of covering yourself with a couple of them. There's chances for block bets as well. But yeah, I would be like, it's one of those weird ones, right? You know, when you've got a bit of an opinion on a horse, because I was a bit against In the Waterside at the beginning of the season. I was saying I don't think he's as good as everyone was making out, but that's because people were talking about him as a Grade 1 type horse. He's one of those that I feel, unfortunately, it's a safe bet for me, because if I bet him and he flops, there's a small part of me that's just like, well, I don't really care if I've just lost, say, 25 each way. I've lost 50 quid on him because I knew he was crap anyway. But I cannot have it that he's not better than 129. Is he going to be another Mongrel, though? And I'm going to have to wait 6 years for him to go and win a Grand National or something. We know what Paul Nichols is like with a slow burner. He's maybe not as plotty as I'm giving him credit for. But anyway, that definitely looks a good race. There'll be money for lots of horses in there as well. But yeah, I'd be fairly confident that In the Waterside runs a massive race, as long as Nichols tries. And that's what I mean about the Nichols stuff in there, right? If Nichols does take this horse out, I would see that as an even bigger positive for when he does decide to run it, because that would indicate to me that he saved it for something. But I think the sloppier the ground, the better for In the Waterside. Right, it wasn't the top novices that I said. The 2.5 mile, it is the Mersey. That's the one that Katira running last year. The top novices hurdle this year looks like it could be quite good, right? We don't often get the supreme winner that's going to run in here. I think, for what it's worth, even the market buyer is suggesting it a bit now, I think Slade still goes for the 2.5 mile at Aintree personally. And I think the Mystical Power maybe dogged it a little bit. I think it was wearing a hood, wasn't it? And then it was almost like El Fabiola Jumbo at Aintree, when you think if they actually didn't have the hood on, would it have done something different? For this race in particular, right, I know Dice Enos is going to be popular. It may be that because what was the one that won the Mares Novice? You'll know better than me. The one that won the Mares Novice, because it was behind her, everyone's saying they're treating Dice Enos. That's it. they're basically treating Dysart Enos like she would have won the Mayor's Novice by 50 lengths. She like I do get that she's got potential, right? But now when you think of it, right, she's 7-1 for it's. I mean, it's going to be grade 2 standard, but potentially going up against some proper, like reasonable boys. I couldn't have in the slides. Firefox is the one that I feel like I'll end up having a bet on, right? I feel like he's the type of horse back in the past. Remember when Abacadabras won this? I think it was or Felix de G when he jumped over across his hooves. I feel like he's one of those types of horses, right? You know, when you've got a horse that you think he's just not quite grade 1, but then you look at this and think this is sort of their standard, and he might be one of those horses that gets left a little bit behind when he's novice chasing or for the rest of his open career. But I feel like Firefox has got a bit of a squeak in here. I would be looking just to have a smallish each way investment on him. I do think Mystical Power could be the horse that if they run him, probably will go off short and could be like a good thing. But I'd be very disappointed if Firefox wasn't able to make his presence felt. Final decks would be very important to see with this one. But yeah, if Mystical Power, Slade Steel, Firefox, Dysart Enos, Caldwell Potter running this, and again I expect Bright Days Head will probably go for the 2.5 mile with Slade Steel. But if they all ran, how the hell do you split them, Jamie?
I was kind of all over Caldwell Potter, but I see Copton's jocked up for the 2.5 miler, so I'll just leave it go for now. To be honest, if I look back at the Supreme and if Caldwell Potter ran, I think Caldwell Potter would have won the race. That's just me. I might be talking absolute shite, but no, I really do thought it, with the way the ground was at Cheltenham and the way the ground that he won at Leopardstown at Christmas, it would have been there anyway. Put it that way, it would have been. I get what you're saying, Dave, about Firefox. I will say I get what you're saying about Firefox. He was stopped in the run. Mystical Power looked like it would come to win the race. Do you know what I mean? It was. I suppose Mystical Power's most impressive day, obviously, was at Punchestown, and it was right-handed, but it's Punchestown's a speed track, and Aintree should suit it better, the flatter track. I'd just be worried around the tight turns around. Do you know, when he's jumping, he's not the most natural yet. Do you know what I mean? He will get better. There's no doubt about it. And he will be in the 2 mile open division next year. That's a slight worry. I think if they come on to another battle up along Aintree Straight and Slade Steel does come here, I think Slade Steel will out-battle it again. That's just my thing. But you know who I'm going to back here. And you just took the words that she'd won the Mayor's Novice by half the track. And it's Dysart Enos. Yeah, it was absolutely ultra impressive last year at this meeting. Absolute hammer golden ace, a Mayor's Novice hurdle winner. 7-1 to see Sea of Blue there. I think it was 10-1 there earlier, wasn't it? I'm all over her. I think she's just better than all of it. And there's no horse I don't think in this field can give this horse £7. So it's Dysart Enos each way 7-1 for me.
Nice. Yeah. Well, again, we've said it from the start of the season. She's just not one until she's done it. Am I going to give her the respect that she maybe deserves?
Look. There's the other side of it too. Is the ground for her? Do you know what I mean? Did they really pull her out because did she have a setback, or was it the ground were they worried about?
I think she had a setback.
Setback, yeah, but did she really have a setback? I'm not cribbing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
you know what I'm trying to say, Joe. You know. But look,
can't trust him after the debacle of the first race at Wincanton.
Oh yeah. I didn't. All I saw was comments. I didn't see the race.
I went back and watched it after seeing the comments. Fuck me, Jamie. It's bad. But the stuff like that's bad for the sport. They can say whatever they want to say, but Christ all fucking mighty. Anywho, at least the good thing we know at Aintree is they'll all be trying, right? I think Firefox was a bit unlucky at Cheltenham. I feel like for me, he's the type of horse that if we were to look back at last year's, when we look at this in 12 months' time, we look back, it'll be. I feel like he would be a horse that you'd be like, yeah, you could see why he was going to win this race. Same as I could say it with Mystical Power. I think if Slade still did run it, he would have a proper chance. But the fact that he's not shortened up, I do think they're going to go 2.5 miles with him because they toyed with the Ballymore at Cheltenham, didn't they? Arguably, if Ballyburn wasn't there, he could have bolted up in the Ballymore. How many times do we see the 2.5 mile horse would have won over both trips anyway? So I think it would be keen to see. I'd be keen to see Slade still over 2.5 because I want to see just how fucking good he is. If he does it at 2 miles and then dots up here over 2.5, it gives you more options for next season, I guess. But I think Firefox is just the solidity type one. I feel like he ticks the box of being the not quite grade 1 maybe horse, but this is his chance to get his grade 1 on the board. I think the 9-2 back is reasonable as well. Like if I can get that scummy each way to nothing type bet on him as well, I feel much, much better doing that. Yeah, again, it wouldn't be one that I'll be getting overly excited. I'm sure you can get that by the way I'm talking, but he's just about the right price to bet. If it had been a 5-2 poke, I'd have been probably not betting him. If it had been an 8-1 poke, I'd have been telling you to have a real good each way bet on him, but he's about the right price. We'll see how that moves. The Melling Chase, Jamie. This is a race that, as much as I crib the 2 mile 4 race for novices, right, when I'm saying that they don't really know the distances, they're trying to find out and stuff, I like this race for the older kids because you've seen they've had enough time as novices, whether it's over hurdles, whether it's an open company, to sort of prove what their trip is. And then you think to them, like, this is where I want to see them go. Do you know what? Actually, do you know what? Just admit it, right? Just admit you're not a speedster. Just admit you're not a Gold Cup horse and just ply your trade over 2.5 miles. We saw Fakir Doudry doing it to an absolute peach. Banbridge, I don't like as a horse. Again, it's the wrong way to probably be as a gambler, right? Just having an affliction against a horse. But ground's bad against him, and he hasn't had the idealist prep for this because that's not his fault, but because of the ground. They probably shouldn't have run him at Cheltenham, but then obviously they did. I couldn't have Banbridge. I don't think he's done enough to be as good as these, but he's the price that he is, right? I don't want to like poo-poo a 9-1 poke. John Bon is one of those horses when we talked about horses stepping up, like when they talked about Altior doing it, and even Shishkin, all those sorts of stuff. John Bon does warrant trying himself at 2.5 miles, right? And I think this is a good opportunity for him to do it. Pick Dorhey, Nichols said, didn't he, after the Kempton run or the Ascot run, whichever one it was, the Ascot one I think it was, he said, oh yeah, that's always been the plan. And then he's been saying now that this has been the plan ever since that plan. And whether if he gets beat here and then they win another race after, he'll say that was the plan. I know he won the race last year, but he flopped in the novices chase the year before. That sticks in my head like a sore thumb with a horse like him. When you're thinking John Bond's slower chase run, admittedly it's over 2 miles, right? And then you think of what Pick Dorey's done going the other way round, and the fact that he's flopped here, how the hell could they be 3-1 joint favourites? John Bond, I think, would be one that I'd be tempted to bet. I'm terrified of our protectorate. I say our protectorate, your protectorate, because again, Skelton's confirmed he'll come here to the shorter race. I'm kind of glad. I wouldn't like him going up against Jerry Colomb. Not that I think he would beat him, but it's just another good horse in the race that changes the complexion of it a little bit. It'll be a good race in here. I think that like John Bond potentially being able to get a toe off of someone like Protectorat would help. I wonder whether Skelton's going to sit behind John Bond and Protectorat and then try and murder him close on. But it is very much between the two of them. But I think in my head, as much as I love Protectorat, right? I think if I think in my head, as much as I've poo-pooed John Bond before, John Bond should beat Protectorat. So while John Bond's 3-1, see what price he goes off on the day. I'm probably going to lure myself into betting John Bond. If he shortens himself up, goes off like 5-2 or shorter, I'll leave him because it'll end up being the wrong price. But while he's potentially a 3-1 plus poke, I'm hoping that you Banbridges, Pick Dory and Envoys and all of them, I'm hoping everyone gets declared so we get a price. I think I'm going to side with John Bond. Wouldn't be overly confident, but I'd be happy to throw a 50 at him at 3-1, I reckon. If he started to go bigger, I'd have more on, I reckon, regardless of the Henderson factor. But we'll get to see how those horses run, I guess, won't we? I think, obviously, the champion chase, it's not El Fabio's fault that he made mistakes, but we could see it, right? Lots of people said about him having a mistake in him. We know this type of stuff about certain horses. John Bond would be coming here as the champion chase winner. And again, John Bond, like we talked with Sergino, John Bond probably would be like a 6-4 poke for this race had he have run at Cheltenham. And the same as with Dice at Enos. I'm not like wanting to give them the race for it, but I'm happy to trust the fact that John Bond's done enough to say that he should be, I think, 2-1 or shorter for this race. So John Bond wins it for me. Jamie?
Oh, yeah. I'm with you. Even though I'm going against, as you said, my Protectorate. I think it's a 2-horse race, Dave. Protectorate won. Didn't he win that old 3-mile open chase at the Aintree meeting there before, didn't he, I think? Many Clouds used to be called Many Clouds.
That's it.
That was 3 miles in soft ground on a flat track. I probably prefer him in a bowl than here. I think he's a 2.5 mile around Cheltenham, but a 3 mile around Aintree kind of a way. I put it this way: he's had his day. Do you know what I mean? At the Ryanair, that was his target. That's what I said he'd win. Came off, thank God. But 3-1 on a horse that should be over 2.5 miles anyway, and he's won in the last couple of Aintree meetings, and he's missed Cheltenham. 3-1 massive. He'll win. John Bond.
Yeah, I think so. And that's, again, not that everything is all price driven, but like with Protector when he was double figures, when he even on the day was like a 9-1 poke for a Ryanair. This is admittedly a bit weaker and he's coming off the back of it, but then is it really weak when you've got John Bon in there? Like his price is collapsed because he's won at Cheltenham. The one thing I will ask you about John Bon though, which just ruminates in my head about him stepping up in trip, even if we go back, not just specifically that slower, because that's obviously just one race, but you know the slow when Nico went down the back. Was it Nico or was it James Bowen? Whoever
Nico,
it was Nico when it had the balls. Down the back when he pressed that little turbo and just fucked off. And Harry Skelton said after he's never gone round Cheltenham that fast over 2 miles on any horse when he was riding Newbay. Does that worry you a tiny bit about whether missing Cheltenham and being a little bit extra fresh? Do you think they'll go fast enough for him?
I think he'll just take it up, Dave. Really early. I look, Pictori is a right-handed track horse. Won't go on, like he needs a bit of better ground, doesn't he? There's a lot of dead wood in here. Right? I think, like, you know, he's only putting his like Protectorate. It will go, and like he might get the toe from Protectorate and just burn him off at the end. Maybe I think he'll depend a lot on what Protectorate does. Like Protectorate could go out and flush him, you know, for speed and just go. Do you know what I mean? Like he didn't in the Ryanair. He kind of sat back a bit. He might be just left go and might put John Bon's jumping under pressure. So that's another thing to think about. It's either or is going to win, Dave, but surely John Bon is a better horse than Protectorate. Surely.
Yeah, and this is the mad thing about it, right? If I play devil's advocate, mate, and I say to you, the prices are 6-4 John Bon and Protectorate's 9-2, we would still be talking about it in exactly the same light, wouldn't we? We'd still say that John Bon's the bet, probably, wouldn't we? Mm-hmm. Good value. Yeah, I will just quickly bring up like this, just one little thing, because Trevor's saying there you can't back any of Henderson's horses with any confidence at the moment. Just for a quick sight on that, how do you feel about like any Henderson runners? Like, does it make you think I want a bigger price to compensate for it? Does it make you think it's not my problem, the trainers, if I can deal with it? Or does it make you think actually I should tread lightly, maybe see a few races first or go with it? Do you basically pay any attention to it?
I suppose exactly what you're saying, Dave. Like if Henderson didn't have the Cheltenham that he had, regardless if say John Bon had a slight setback, but regardless, do you know what I mean? Forget about it. Do you know, he didn't have a setback. He just didn't run because the stable had a problem. 3-1 is factoring into that. And like technically, being the best horse in the race, I know he's going further, it's heavier ground and all that, but 3-1 is factored in on Henderson being, you know, there might be something wrong with the air. And I think if Henderson was going good, he had not a bad Cheltenham, regardless of John Bon ran, do you know what I mean? That he'd be a lot shorter, in my opinion. That's just me. Yeah. But yeah, I think he'll just win. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those. I think Henderson's always said that he needs to step up and trip, and that's what's sticking in the back of my head.
Yep. And for my penny's worth, just for what it's worth, I will look at a race and I'll price it up on trust, right? If there's something that I disagree with, i.e. a trainer says they need soft ground and I don't think they do, I would potentially go against the trainer's opinion in terms of my betting. In this instance, I will price up the race as though there is nothing wrong with any of them, because Nicky Henderson would not be running his horses if he thought they were. We saw what he did at Cheltenham, taking horse out, like Sagino, who could have run completely and utterly fine. Daryl to the piece did he said about the price of the horses, as much as they were saying only Lucia placed, like none of them were due to run well. They were all bigger prices. I just look at this and think to myself, right, my entry point for this race, for conversation's sake, might be 2-1. I'm getting 3-1, so I'll bet accordingly. If that's factored in because of his yard form, then that's what I'll take in there, because I disagree with what the view is. But it's not going to bother me. I mean, it could do after, if obviously all the Hendersons get fucking slapped up and I bet a few of them. But at the end of the day, I'm not just betting Henderson for the week, and I'm not just betting blind. And I do think I'm being compensated in terms of the price. So we'll leave it as that. The Topham Handicap Chase. If we talk about races that I do not know what I'm doing in, this is it. Every year, Jamie, I sit here. I say every year, maybe not the last couple of years because I've got bored of it. But I sit here and I think to myself, oh, actually, yeah, this horse probably could. Oh, yeah, this is probably the one. And then I talk myself up to some sort of romantic idea that I've found the key to the winner of the Topham. I don't do very well in it. There's a few that are on my short list. Life in the Park is definitely on my short list, like the horse. James de Burley is definitely on my short list, like the horse. And there was one more, but I think he was a monster price. I'll have to double check the other one. But yeah, I got James de Burley, Life in the Park are on my short list. Again, I'll have small little plays on them. Have you got an opinion? Have you got one that's definitely going to win this?
No. Minefield.
Would you look at it for like an interest of a bet on like it's a Friday afternoon? You think, oh, I'll have a little bet. I'll have a look at the markets. Is there anything you'd be looking for to lure you in for a bet, or would you just leave it alone?
You know yourself, Dave. You win a few quid in the first 3 or 4 races. You're going to have a bet in a few horses in it, to cover having and speculative betting. Hopefully, if you back a couple in it, you would say, hopefully one will win. No, he won't win.
We loved him, didn't we? There's all sorts of it. This is one of these. It's like it's a bad handicap as far as I'm concerned.
If the Topham was right-handed all day long, I'd back him. But no, he can't go left-handed, can he?
All right. Well, there's a third one that I can't remember the name of the top of me, but yeah, life.
Oh, you weren't going to say you weren't going to say your darling, were you? Am I killing you now?
Oh no, definitely not. I may be an idiot, sir, but there is one thing I'm not, sir, and that, sir, is an idiot. Right, the Sefton novices hurdle, 3 miles. I'll say it in every single video where there's a 3-mile novice hurdler. I love this division, Jamie. I love the stayers hurdlers. It doesn't necessarily mean that I do that well in it, but I like them as a little sphere. It's a bit of a mad makeup, this race, to be honest with you, because even with all the knowledge of what happened at Cheltenham and then thinking about earlier season form and stuff, you look at it and I'm not surprised the market is as it is, because it's hard to be really confident about something. But I do think you could make a short list that's probably longer than like you could count on your hand. There's a lot of horses you could forgive, and you'd have to forgive quite a few of them. There's a few that could run well in it, I think, is the long and the short of it. The most obvious one, and you can see why he's being nibbled, is the jukebox man, right? I think that was his first try at 3 miles at Cheltenham. He looks like this will suit him. He's come in here on a nice bit of form. I feel like he warrants favouritism. But the sad thing is, when you see a horse like that you think you can make a bit of a case for, and you see 6-1 about him, it still doesn't make me think, oh yeah, I want to steam into him. So that tempers and fuses him a little bit. And there's a few horses that I don't think ran their races at Cheltenham, or even ones like Shanna Bob that skipped Cheltenham. I don't know what to make of him in terms of what they can do. I would have rather seen him run at Cheltenham and have a bit more of a handle on what he can do. So it is a division that I really like. It is a race that I will undoubtedly have a bit of an interest in. I don't know where my in is at the moment, but if it was gun to head and someone said you got a £50 free bet to bet it, I would bet the jukebox man at this point, because I think I'd want some on him. But I don't think he'd be the only one I'd want to go to war with. And I don't think I'd have any real confidence in who wins it. How about you? Because, like I say, there's some good horses in it, like Better Days Ahead. Do you think winning the pipe, like as you suggested, start of the season? I know it's very different, but like an in the water side, right? Better Days Ahead was talked about as a Ballymore, Albert Bartlett, Supreme type horse. So thinking graded horse, got his handicap done. He's now going to go running here. 8-1 about him when you could get about the same price for a pipe. I know you get Banbridge that goes and does the race over there and then comes and wins the right one, but that's over the same trip. How do you see the race long and short of it, mate? Is there one or two you got on your short list? Anything you're going to bet?
Not with huge confidence, Dave, and I suppose it's going to be, I could probably be crib tower here now. And a horse that I like is the Never Henderson horse, and it's not Shanna Bob either. I think Shanna Bob is like a 4-mile boat the way he went.
Yeah.
The horse I like here, if he ran, is a horse called Peaky Boy. I was seriously impressed with him when he ran at Cheltenham the last time when he beat Champagne Twist, I think is the name of the horse. Champagne Twist and went on to the BF final at Sandown and won well as well. The way he just really impressed me, and it's a stab in the dark. It's just this huge. If these all turn up, it's a huge depth of a field. Do you know what I mean? Supposed to be the most disappointing horse on this list was Reading Tommy Wrong. He was absolutely dog shit in the Albert Bartlett. It's like he travelled like the best horse in the race in the Albert Bartlett, and then he come to the third last and he just stopped. So obviously something went wrong there. I wouldn't give up on him totally, but obviously you couldn't be backing him after the run in the Albert Bartlett, to be honest with you. Better Days Ahead, yeah, we were on about him before for a pipe. Like he's coming from a handicap into grade 1. Like the Jukebox man looked the winner all over, But with that, did that kill him? Did that break his heart maybe against the Story and Albert Bartlett? It's the other side of it. Dancing City was he third in the Albert Bartlett? They're all there. Do you know what I mean? But because it's kind of like a small bit of a rule of thumb, hasn't gone to Cheltenham, didn't have a hard race. Another horse is after the horse that came out that he beat by 5 lengths is won a big huge handicap at Sandown on soft ground, and it was heavy ground that day. He won at Cheltenham, and hopefully he'll be soft to heavy. I just like this Peaky Boy, and I think he runs. I give him a squeaky threat.
Nice. You'll be able to see on the screen that I had clicked on a couple of these while we were sat here. Like Johnny Who will no doubt lure me in for some sort of wind dart on him because he didn't run very well at Cheltenham. He didn't really run very well at Cheltenham when he ran behind Gidley Park either. It may be that wasn't his track. You think of his Newbury run where he did stay on in shit ground, did a lot of running late on. Newbury and Aintree would be a lot more similar than, let's say, a Newbury and a Cheltenham. He'd be the sort of horse where if he dotted up, or if he won at 20 or 25 to 1, I would kick myself for not having a couple of quid on him. But I feel like that's the makeup of this race, right? I might end up having 50, 60, 70 quid on the race, and that's a big push if I get that much in there. But I'll probably split it across a couple of horses for smaller interests. Right, conditional jockeys and amateur riders race. Only William Hill have priced this up. So William Hill are the only firm that have priced up every single race at the Cheltenham Festival. Like madness of a race, right? Conditional jockeys, amateur riders, plot central, left, right, and centre. Ground's going to probably ruin the chance of a couple of these. I'm saying that more so about something like a King of Kingsfield in there. But is this a race that you looked at before and you found anything?
Go on to Saturday, Dave.
We'll move on to Saturday. I will just tell the people that I've got a short list of 2 at this point, but this isn't form-based. This was literally just when I did the trendy stuff. Bally, number 6, or Bally, and Party Vibes, that's like 25 to 1. There were a couple that are ones for me to pay a bit more attention to when it comes to it.
The one horse that kind of catches the eye there, because he fell in the big race that, what's the number 21 there, Dave? Go up there again.
Cracking Rhapsody.
Cracking Rhapsody. He won that big race, didn't he, at Kelso? The more battle than he before the Saturday before Cheltenham. And Brucio as well, fancy. He fell at the first. So he maybe want to keep an eye on, because the way he won at the Dublin Racing Festival it was soft, it was genuine soft, the heavy ground at the Dublin Racing on the Sunday. They went really quick that day in that mare's handicap hurdle.
She kills me though, because if they'd have run at Kelso last weekend, she was setting the race up for Lily de Burle, and Lily de Burle was 13 to 2, and we would have had all of our Christmases covered for the next 30 years. Lily de Burle is rated 116 in that final, 51 grand it was worth.
I don't know why.
Anywho.
Yeah, but look, there's some, exactly. But it's like Cracking Rhapsody was very impressive. I thought that day in the more battle, but it'll probably gone up a pile. And Brucio fell at the first, so it didn't give its true running. So look, obviously, it didn't give its true running. Fell at the first, but it was just the way he won at the Dublin Racing Festival. It just caught my eye. So look,
she did look good, didn't she?
Yeah, I wouldn't put anyone, but very tentative.
Yeah. And obviously that's an easier race when you've got 40, 42, and there'll be 22 final field. Get an idea for jockey bookings, and we can look into it a little bit more. What some of those, right? Sometimes you're worried about missing value, or at least I can be. In a race like that, I'd rather have all the information, even some of the early market support, to use that to base my judgment. And that's not to say that if a horse drifts, it's going to put me off betting them. But if you bet them early and they drift, you could have got twice the price. So hold on to your hats. Right, Saturday, of course, the Grand National is the epitome. It is the greatest race, the greatest race that goes on TV for everyone to get excited about. But there's still some good racing on the Saturday, right? I do feel like it's not the best day's racing, personally. I know it's got the Grand National in there, but there's there's chance in it. This is the only one of the handicaps that I haven't, or only one of the races of the whole of the festival that I haven't done at all. So I haven't even looked at it. I can see Johnny Who's in it for a handicap, 136. Springwell Bay, Kintara, Monborough. Jesus, this is a race, isn't it? Right, I haven't even looked at this, so I won't. Oh my God, Chantry's house is 33s. Right, I need to stop. I don't have an opinion in this race because I haven't looked at it yet, but as you can see, I'm excited by the names of a few of them. Jamie, did you have a chance to look at it?
Yeah, not really 100 thing, but look, I'll put it this way, chat, and it's just been, either what am I just tipping Henderson and Skelton horses all bloody day. If Katira wins or is close up in the other one, you'd have to be all over West Balboa here, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
All over him over 3 miles here. I mean, like the way we were talking about, this horse is going down the stairs hurdle route, and it won before around Aintree. I think it's just a flat track, needs to go left-handed Aintree horse that needs a bit of soft ground. Yeah, I will wait obviously and see what Katira does, and if Katira is close up in the first 3 or 4 in that 2.5 mile handicap, I will back West Balboa in this. Yeah, but it's just only by form lines and the way that race that was run the last day at Kempton, they won the Boom Boom one. But not with huge confidence, Dave. Obviously, it's a huge minefield of a handicap.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that, again, like I said, I hadn't already done, but I do feel like I'm probably off this end of this. I'm going to go into Bet365 because I can still get a bit on there. I'm going to back West Balboa at 10s. You know, when they ran in that long walk hurdle, sent off favourite, wouldn't she? And then they mentioned after that she probably just needs the hustle and bustle of a handicap to go and do it. Him saying that was a little bit like the Langadana and he comes good in spring type stuff, wasn't it? It was almost him saying, who's backing their 3-1 favourite for fucking grade 1 when I'm lining up for a handicap? 141 rated, didn't she? Start of the season, she battered Brewing Up a Storm. You've already touched on the fact that he's come out and won at the Fairy House Festival. 141, and obviously, like in the girls' game, she'd get £7 from the boys. I know that's not how it works in handicap, but even if you pushed her up to 148 because she's not getting the concession, she should be capable of running to a high 140s number, shouldn't she? I'm going to have a little bit of that. I think she's going to shorten up. Good work. Ground doesn't worry you? Because I don't think it bothers me.
No, one. I know it was a 3-runner race. Remember, is it the start of the season? It was a 2.5 mile race at the Aintree. You know, at the Beach Chase meeting. Yeah. No, the Safton one worry me at all. Like, it should by Saturday be a little bit better. Hopefully, by the forecast that I've seen.
Nice. Right, well, I'm going to bet. I mean, I'll probably do it now while we're on the phone. I'll get a little bit on there because.
Well, I got to back it out. Actually, since you said it, I got to take the 10-1 too.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be an obvious shortener, won't it? I think that's the first one of the whole night, isn't it? That I've actually decided to bet. So Q Thursday final declarations. West Balboa does not run.
It doesn't run yet.
Mersey novices had right 2.5 miler. Good old race. I touched on Slade still in that other race. Doesn't necessarily mean this, but you see shortened up a little bit in here. I think this is where they should run him. It's not my choice. I'm not the race planner. He could go for either of the trips. He'd have a favourites chance as far as I'm concerned in either of them. But I think when you start to look at this one here, I feel like this would be a bit of an easier race. Like, I don't think Firefox in his run in the Supreme, because he did get stopped, looked like a horse that would want to be going up another half a mile. I don't see the reason to do it. I just don't think he was good enough. But it would be an easier assignment, so it wouldn't worry me so much with that there. The depth of this race just doesn't. It just isn't there as far as I'm concerned. So I feel like Slade still should come here. He does stay the 2.5 mile. I think Slade still would win. The only thing that's stopping me is the fact that he could go to either race. If he was in here and he was 4-1, I'd be having fucking shitloads on him, is the only way to say it. Apologies for swearing to our younger viewers out there. But yeah, I don't see Slade still getting beat. Brighter Days Ahead obviously was so bad at Cheltenham. I don't think that. I don't think I can put my finger on what it was, because I trust Jack Kennedy as a jockey. But we talked about when we talked about the Fairy House race where she might run. I think that she probably he was desperate when he cut up Jay DeGrugy and all those bits and pieces. Like, I just don't think there's enough in there for it to excuse it for me to think, hang on a minute, I need to smash her in this. So basically, the long and the short of it is, if Slade still runs it, I will be having a good chunk on Slade still, but he won't be 4-1. He'll be 6-4 in this race probably. So I'll try and get stuck into him. Outside that, if he doesn't run, I don't think I'd want to have a bet in the race, to be honest with you. How do you see it, Jamie?
Since I saw Harry Cofton jacked up, it's the one bet of ahead before we came on. And when I was having a look today before we came on, and I've had 50 quid on the nose at 6-1 on Call by Potter. I just can't even go at 6-1. I think, as I said to you before, I think if he ran in the Supreme, I think he'd have been there, and I think he probably would have won. I thought he was super impressive on the ground in Christmas. Look, you could crib the form a small bit. The Predator's Gold is not that good. Do you know what I mean? But I think this horse is... Look, forget about the price tag. I won't take any notice of that. I think this horse is a really good horse, Dave. Obviously, it's a horse for the future. But I think it could... Look, to me, if they run here, look, all of it here, whoever runs, forget about the rest, in my opinion. If they both run here, it's a two-hand reel, like most of the races, hopefully. Look, you're obviously going to have turn-ups at Aintree. I just can't let him go at 6-1. I think it could be a better horse than Slade. He might not be now. I'm being a hypocrite, obviously. But I just couldn't leave the 6-1 go. And because in my head, when you look back and you just go back to all the races at Cheltenham and you say, who didn't turn up? And if they turned up, would have they have won? And I might be a bit controversial here. And I think if he ran the Supreme the way the ground ended up, I think he'd have won it. So, because in my head that I think he would have won it, I think he'll win here, and 2.5 miles is perfect for him. A bit of soft ground. He's a tank of a horse. I just couldn't leave the 6-1 go, and I think he'll win. Yeah, it's Caldwell Potter for me.
Yeah, I can't blame you. And obviously, I'm talking about the fact that if Slade still comes in, because I believe he should. If Slade still comes out, Caldwell Potter then becomes the probable 6-4 poke for this race, I suspect.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting because obviously this is the Saturday race. Tomorrow we're going to get some of those 2 mile. Is it 2 mile on the first day? I think it is. We'll start to find out where some of the horses are going, so that will then have an impact on some of the markets. This is obviously not going to be the case, but even if you look at them now, I know you can get 6-1 Caldwell Potter, but if you get 4-1, one of those two, you're getting 6-4 for one of those two horses to win the race back in the pair of them if they went against each other. There's no way something else beats them. I think that looks like a fairly surefire one. I know we do get some upsets at Aintree, but the good things are going to go and win that. Be a good race. I'm half hoping we get to see Slade still versus Caldwell Potter because it's a good spectacle. But I also don't want to see it because I want to bet Slade still. And you want to bet Caldwell Potter. So we don't really want... If it comes to that, Jamie, I'll message you. We'll have a match bet and then not let the bookies have some of our money. Right. We've got a 3 mile 1 handicap chase. Was it Sam Brown won this last year? Someone wanted a massive price, didn't they? There's only one horse we can talk about firstly, and that is the King of Rye Hope for Paul Beck, who I did late message him to see if he fancied coming on for this because we know we appreciate his views. So do all the viewers out there. He was otherwise engaged, and it wasn't because I didn't want him on that I didn't speak to him before, but you know what it's like, mate. We're very last minute on this business, aren't we? And I don't like to take too much of people's times. Anywho, he fancies the King of Rye Hope, thinks he's got a proper chance, ticks loads of boxes. It's just the lack of a more recent run would be the only box he didn't tick. I would say they wouldn't want it to be too desperate the ground. As much as he handles it a bit, they wouldn't like just normal soft ground would probably be as bad as you maybe want it on there. Jamie, I'm gonna say something to you, and yeah, you know what I'm gonna say as well. You can. He's 158, rated 158 now. Ahoy, Signor.
No.
I'm betting Ahoy, Signor, regardless. I would have. He was no way would do anything in a Gold Cup, but like he's a fucking 3 mile chaser. When they decided to drop him back to the Ryanair, it was a stupid choice. Early in the season, people were saying, "Oh, I'm going to bet him for the Stairs hurdle now that everything's running." He's not like I know he won over hurdles, but he's a 3 mile chaser. Now he ran in the Hennessy, didn't he? And I believe he didn't complete, did he? I think he was going okay-ish. Did he come down? Maybe. Let me just double check. Yes, pulled up, so he didn't come down, but he didn't finish his race. He's been doing that a lot this season, right? Where he runs and then just for whatever reason he's massive on the exchanges, and I don't see the same bit in there. But like he's 158 rated. He's like I don't care what anyone says. He's capable of running in the 160s. Like I wouldn't. Again, it wouldn't be going excited. I wouldn't be getting mad in this race. But I'd rather just have like 25 each way or a score each way or something on a Ahoy Signor and let the money go than I would probably think of like. Well, I'd rather do that rather than try and knuckle down and find something else by a form perspective, because it was like when Sam Brown won it last year, like back Chamblew and you get like done in on the race and then something like that pops up and you just think to yourself, well, on like older form, maybe he did have a little bit, maybe he hadn't really lit the lights. So yeah, I'll end up doing more money if I try and find a different one. So I'll back a Ahoy Signor each way. Who did you like for it, Jamie?
Oh, fine.
I've ruined it. I've ruined the 3 mile 1 handicap chase. It's mad, isn't it? Mad. The Liverpool hurdle. So again, we'll see the pictures in here. For those of you that joined a little bit later, I did talk about Irish Point because he's in the 2.5 miler as well. I think looking at all of this stuff, he's not going to come to Aintree. Had he have come to Aintree, he would have been one of my better bets on the Saturday. I would have fancied him to mop up against Flooring Porter, and even if the ground went not maybe horrifically bad, but I would have fancied him with the quicker turnaround now for Tiapu on a slightly easier track. I would have thought that he'd have a chance of serving up to him as well. And I didn't expect Tiapu to run. So the way the market's going, I'm assuming that Tiapu probably is going to run here. Maybe it's a longer gap for the French Chaminade. That's what they're thinking. Flooring Porter should run here. I mean, Crambo can run wherever he wants, can't he? But he's not going to do anything. Cider Burley's definitely too old. I know we said it last year. Buddy One ran well, but terrible price now. So I guess the way to talk about it now is I don't see myself being able to possibly have a bet in this race, Jamie. I know obviously I was mad on Tiapu. I don't have that the massive concern about him like not being fresh. Like if Gordon had decided to run him before Cheltenham, I still would have fancied him as much as Cheltenham. Like it wasn't the fresh angle that was the reason I fancied him. I liked him because of his ability, but it is now more probably prevalent in my mind to think that maybe he does want it to be a little bit fresher. So, I mean, he should win. He's obviously a very, very good horse, but Flooring Porter's been here, done it, and Tiapu's not running at Aintree. Obviously, Cheltenham's a very different track. I don't know. I feel like I'd be throwing money away by betting him. For me, he would be the one that wins the race. Like I say, if Irish Point had been running, I would have been betting Irish Point, but I don't think I'll be able to bring myself to bet him. How do you see it? Would you be more confident in Tiapu 9-4, seem a fair price?
More than fair, Dave, to be honest with you. Look, if he runs here, he'll win. I'll put it that way, Joe. But if the top three don't run, look, Flooring Porter will run. Sorry. But Tiapu and Irish Point, if they don't come over for it, like Crambo wasn't great. Was he at Cheltenham? Do you know what I mean? Is he a Cheltenham horse, or he could be better here at Aintree? Do you know what I mean? But after the run at Cheltenham, they kind of said afterwards that he's better probably right-handed, and that would put me hugely off. Do you know what I mean? As I said to you before he came on, Hidden Valley Lake, is he a 3 mile or is he a 2.5? He was very impressive the last day in the race at Navan. To me, I kind of fancied him then to go on in the 150s to win a Coral Cup. Do you know what I mean? I think he's better than he's marked, but is he now 3 miler when the going gets tough? Like, he wasn't great last year in the Albert Bartlett behind Stay Away Faye. I think he was well behind. Do you know what I mean? But is he a 2.5 miler or is he a 3 miler? I think all depend on the ground. If they come over, do you know what I mean? If they might have a chance, he could have a chance each way. But look, they know, but you could see the top of the sea of blue there. Like if Tiapu runs, Tiapu will win. Like, he'll get more than genuine soft ground. Do you know what I mean here? And I think he'll just outstay everybody and he'll just win again.
Yeah, fair enough. Strong Lead is one that I've hovered over a bit because I talked about him, didn't know, when he ran in the Cleve Hurdle, and then they said they were going to save him for Aintree. But again, I feel like he would want good to soft at worst ground. He doesn't want it this slow. And again, when people have minded horses for a meeting, they're not minding them hoping they're going to get soft ground at Aintree, are they? So yeah, it's a tough one. I'd sit and wait on that one. I feel like I want to leave it. But you know, when you get you feel like you've got a bit of a line in, or you've got something you want to bet, and then they might not run, it makes it hard to then go back and look at the race through the correct eyes, doesn't it? And Tiapu should win, shouldn't he? But fuck it, we made a bit off of him at Cheltenham. The Grand National, Jamie. I could bore the viewers on this race for hours and hours and hours. I've already done a video on it, so I'll probably just point people to go and look at that, where I've mentioned a few horses that are in there. For what it's worth, I'm not worried about the ground for Kitty's Light as much as some other people are. Just the horse is better in the spring, and it just happens to be that it's run on spring ground. I wouldn't worry about the ground for Kitty's Light. I think Kitty's Light's got a proper chance. And I know normally you want a horse to have won this season that's going to go and win a Grand National, but one at Sandown right at the back end of last year, right? Like, if that's not close enough to be winning this season, I don't know what is. Proper chance Kitty's Light of the ones that are shorter in there. Limerick Lace, we've liked her anyway, full stop, haven't we? She'd be a very interesting one. I feel like she'd be the wise guy horse that will just place and everyone will be like she was a sure thing to place. But I give her a bit of a squeak. Further down as well, right? I really, really, really think Chambard's got a shout. And I know potentially the age is a little bit of a negative stuff, but like, he's a stupidly big prize. So we've got to give Chambard a little tiny bit of a mention. That's probably all that's worth me giving it a go. Jamie, the Grand National, 34 runners this year, so there's 6 less of us to get wrong. Who wins it? One, you got a strong fancy?
I've backed one horse in a day, and I've backed it 3 times. I backed it at 25s, I backed it at 20s, now it's 12-1. And it's a horse called, and look, I was very annoyed that I ran in the Midlands Grand National and finished second, but I really fancy Mr. Incredible. If you look back at the race last year, it was going very well in the canal, and it's just, I don't know what happened after the canal. It stumbled after the canal turn, Brian Hayes fell off. It was going very well. And I know he's a bit of a dog of a horse. He takes cajoling, but it's just the run last year. He just caught my eye. I don't really like last year. I was very strong in Corp Rambler. I knew ages out that this horse has a right chance. This year, I'm not that confident. It's a Grand National, you can't be confident anyway, but not, kind of getting more confident towards the day, do you know what I mean, kind of a thing. But I know what you're saying about Kitty's Light, and I was kind of coming on to the horse. But my problem with Kitty's Light is that, you know, when you come down to the first in the Grand National, and just me thinking out loud, I think she'd be ran off her. I think it'd be ran off its feet. Do you know what I mean? I know it won an either over 4 miles, but do you know what I mean? They got there and they fell apart. Do you know what I mean? That race kind of fell apart and she stayed on. This, I think, she'd be too far behind, in my opinion, unless they absolutely fall in a hole in front of her. Like, you know, that's what's putting me off Kitty's Light. I think they just go too quick for her. Him, her, whatever. The other horse, exactly what you said, David, took the words out of my mouth. You can see Limerick Lace is going to be back, because the whole kind of theory that she's a 2.5 miler, and it's a kind of a race where you need the speed to stay up with it. But will she stay? Like, she didn't really stay in the Tri-Town behind Cocoa Beach that day. I backed her in the Tri-Town that day. She was well backed into favourite. Different type of a race, obviously. Do you know what I mean? But she will be there. But will she stay is my crib about her. I am Maximus. My dad fancies him. I don't know about that horse. I think he's another horse that it just doesn't sit well with me. The leg action. Like, if you watch back the Irish National, it was like falling out the back of the telly and just stayed on because they fell in a hole. Where they're constantly going in a national, I don't think he'll like that. That's just my opinion. One horse will be up in the bandwagon for the whole race. Will be Man or Mission. Will be there, and will it stay? That's another thing. Like, you know, got caught on the really rattling fast pace by the ill-fated That's Alright Gino. You're going to get a great run for your spin for your money off Man or Mission. There's no doubt about that, because he loved the quickness of an Ashton. He'd be up at the bandwagon, but I'd be worried about his finishing kick. In theory, that's just only me thinking out loud. But yeah, the horse I backed for a while, I backed Mr. Incredible before Christmas, something like that. I got 25s. I backed it at 20, small money. Backed it again at 16s. I might back it on the day. It's the horse I fancied since last year, since watching the race. So yeah, it's Mr. Incredible for me.
Do you back him each way when you've been backing him anti-post?
Yeah.
Okay, fair play. Because I invariably don't. I don't really ever bet anything anti-post for a Grand National. But I think of myself sat in now just thinking, if I ever am going to get stuck into something for a Grand National ever in my career, I'm going to have to make sure I bet them each way, because even though there might only be 4 places up for grabs, you can get it right, can't you? And then just something happens in the race where you just get found out by something else, didn't you? No, it does look like probably the most exciting Grand National in terms of my perspective looking at it, because I do think it's wide open. It was obviously good when Tiger Roll was running, wasn't it? Because it was just an absolute good thing. Cratch Rambler, do you think he's got the same type of favourites chance as Tiger Roll coming back to defend it? Because obviously some horses running the race, well, a lot of horses running it, and then they can't. They proved that the first time they're running it, they can't win a national. He hacked up last year. Do you think he's the same mould of a Tiger Roll where the weight is irrelevant? He's just much better in the discipline, or do you think now that he's got a shoulder so much more weight that will be the factor that stops him winning a back-to-back?
I suppose, would you be worried about the ground slightly for him? The ground very slightly for him, do you know what I mean? But what's put me off him, Dave, is that if you watch back the Gold Cup and watch him for the whole race of the Gold Cup, he absolutely was hanging by the end. I know, by the end. Look, it's a Gold Cup. He's by far, obviously, the best horse. This is straight, you know, right? He's by far the best horse in the race. There's no doubt about it. But if a proper spring ground last year, he bounced off and he loved it. Softer ground would be an issue. And look, he was legless up the hill in the Gold Cup. And it's only a 4-week turnaround. Then you're going 4.25 miles. I'd be seriously worried. Look, we were all on him last year. I don't think he's a Tiger Roll. I've proven wrong. It's a Grand National. If it was proper spring ground, I wouldn't put anyone off backing him. But if you want to back 5-1 in a national, that is totally up to yourself.
Yeah, and you're not wrong, mate. I know it's hard to always, especially with a race like this, because it's a thankless task, isn't it? But like, for what it's worth, when Tiger Roll was running in his heyday, do you remember how much of a big thing O'Leary made of making Tiger Roll run in a Betway Bowl just to prove the fact that the other race, many clouds was to prove that his rating is irrelevant? It's because it's the discipline that he does it in. Whereas I feel like Karach Rambler was a well handicapped horse, and we've now reached the point of he's on his mark, and that mark means that he's no longer well handicapped. Just because it's Grand National, he's not going to eke out a few extra pounds. You can run him in a normal discipline, or you can run him in this, and he will run just as good a race. I think the handicap is right up with him. So it's like I really hope he does run well. Like, I'm happy to have egg on my face with him. Not a race I'll be getting too heavily invested in, but I couldn't have him. And when you look at where the price is, you think, oh, surely he's going to be in the top 5 or 6. That worries me even more, because I feel like I don't know. I feel like he could just be out on his arse. He could get pulled up. They could potentially mind him or something. Like, I'm very much against him as a favourite. But again, happy to be like proven wrong if he does go and do it. But yeah, but within that as well, like whenever there's one that's towards the head of the market that you're so against as well, that does mean there's got to be a few in behind that are a reasonable price, doesn't it? But I don't know. I struggle to see where the good prices are. But if you are fancying some win darts, get on the exchanges, because the prices on there are absolutely mad. And depending on how you do like to play it, if you're just tempted to have a tenner and do some small stakes, you might be able to stick a quid or a couple of quid on a handful of horses on the exchanges for stupidly big prices, rather than having like pounds each way on stuff. But since Bet365 got rid of their like half your money back stake stuff anti-post, I've lost interest in the Grand National, because that used to be an absolute money-making merchant. I remember working in an office and a guy used to put everyone's Grand National bets on for him. He said, oh, don't worry, I'll do that. I'll get you best odds guaranteed. And he bet on Bet365, so he used to get half the money back. Little scumbag. Anyway, right, we've got the Mag Hall Novices Chase. William Hill did say they priced up everything. They don't have a price on this. So, William Hill, if you're watching, sort your shit out. This is the 2 mile Novices Chase. So, obviously, because the prices aren't up, they're not listed in the order they potentially should be. You can see the names of the ones on there. I'd imagine you've had a look at this race. There are a few that I think are good chances in here. And I know you don't particularly like the horse, but I will be betting Founder 50 in this race if he does come for it. I just think he's better than everything else. I think there's a lot of horses in it that are sadly just like grade 2-y type horses. And if it had been more springy ground, I think a few of them would have got away with it. I think the fact that it is going to potentially be like soft, tacky, shitty ground, it worries me about a few that I think might have the ability to do him that they won't be able to. So I don't know what the prices are, so it's a bit of a loose one. But like I would fancy Founder 50 for this, but it would be price dependent whether I'll bet him or not, because he's going to be the class horse in the race. He might end up being too stupidly short. So yeah, without the price of it's hard. It's hard to give you like an in as well from like an entry point, because I don't know how deep the race will be. Same as the Arc, you end up having a lot more runners in there than potentially you thought you would first time. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I want to bet Founder 50 in this race, but I don't know. Again, it's very difficult because there's no price, is there? But like, I wouldn't be betting him if he was sub 5-2, I guess. But that's Luke's way of saying it. Did you look at the race, Jamie? Did you fancy one in here?
Yeah, I've kind of put off Dave, obviously, like you said, in the race that I saw with no prices. I like 2 here, and one was one horse that you fancy for the Arkle, because I think he's tailor-made for our Aintree, and he'll go out in front, and it's Matata. Yeah, I think Matata would have a chance here, especially if he gets out and he gets a soft lead. But if he runs here, and I'm sure he'll run here, because the start at the Arkle, it was a joke really for Rachel Blackmore. I think if Quixilios runs here, if you get a decent price on it, I wouldn't put anyone off. So I'd be back.
We have got some prices. 4-1 Founder 50. I mean, I guess it's because he's the jubbly end, isn't it? If he was 4-1, I'd be having a sizable bet on him. But yeah, so you were saying you went down to Quilixios as well. Give it a second chance, do you, right?
Quixilios 14-1. That's huge.
But we don't know if they're going to run or not. So
I know, right? That's very hard to.
Anyway, we've given our opinions. I guess obviously it is like you can be slightly price driven after us looking at it. The fact that we're seeing the prices doesn't change our view on it anyway, so we're happy with that. Then the bumper, we'll finally get ourselves to the end of it. We can't get it done in an hour and a half unless this only takes 90 seconds. I'm happy to speed talk, and then people can play out on half speed if they want. As it stands for the bumper, I gave you Florida Dreams last year at a big old price. I said it with the girls' race. You've got to watch racing and you've got to see something and feel, you got to feel the love for the horse. I don't have it with anyone. I'm sure there's a few people that will like it with Mr. Megget. There'll be a few people that have got that feeling with some horses. For me this year, I don't have it. The only one that's like on my radar as a horse to potentially have a bet in here, it's another Emma Lavelle horse, and it was Machantou. I don't think the form of the Huntingdon race really looks like it's that good, but quick switch to the yard. First run for was an all right performance, to be fair. I thought it went like one with a bit in hand. Whether it's quite up to the standard of doing this, I don't know. But posted an RPR of 121, which is more than capable of being in the mix here. I think most of them post 109 plus or something, but there's a few that do the 120s. So I'd give Mashan 2 a bit of a squeak. I think there is betting on odds check. Let me change the race there. Was there anything in the bumper you'd already had a look at?
No idea.
Boo, boo, hiss, boo, boo. Let's have a look. Definitely
not.
Here we go. So the yellow
3-1,
play,
yeah.
3-1. Mr. Meg at 7-2. Tripoli Flyer. Tripoli Flyer won that all-weather race, didn't it? I think. And it's been kept that. Yeah, Mashan 2 14s. I'll be having a bit of 14s. But again, this will be a big field race. Get the fuck away from backing 3 places at a fifth of the odds. Please, please, please. I implore you, wait to the day you'll get bigger prices. And again, it's the last race of the Grand National Meeting. It's almost like the Martin Pipe, in it, where there's just liquidity left, right, and centre on the exchange and all sorts. So I guess that's it. We didn't do best bet for Friday. I can't be bothered to go back and necessarily do it. Let's just say, Jamie, right? Anyone that's still watching now or clicking a little bit later, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, any number of bets that you fancy for the week that the viewers need to know. So like a summary of, they could have just not watched 90 minutes of this. They could have just listened to the next 30 seconds. Who would be your ones that they need to make sure they're getting on side for Aintree?
I suppose in the handicap, I suppose I will say that, was it the 3 mile handicap on the Saturday? Is it that Saturday?
West Balboa?
Yeah, West Balboa, yeah. Graded race, the 2.5 mile novice hurdle, and it's on the Saturday as well, isn't it?
Yep.
Caldwell Potter. That's about it, really, Dave. To be honest, I wouldn't be going. It's an Aintree. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have all the good things winners. You know, it's very hard. You know, you think you're on a very. You think you.
John Bond. Can we have John? Will John Bond go on the list?
No. I won't put John on anyone's list. But no, I won't put John. I would be totally confident on him. No. Yeah, I'd take a stab at. I think compare Pastleby Bob Allinger.
Nice. Well, it's handy to do it as well, because obviously when we talk about it, we talk about every race, aren't we? We have varying views on each of them, right? And what I mean by that more than anything is we could talk about 2 races directly. We try and do it as best we can. We could talk about 2 races and make a case for a horse that we fancy, but one of them we could really fucking fancy. The other one we could fancy just for the sake of fancying something. And that's why it's always hard to get the view of it. So as much as we've talked about lots of horses there, Jamie's giving you the summary of the ones that we think pricey wise are worth doing it. Obviously, always you guys out there, you like form your own opinion. It's all well and good listening to us, getting an idea for market moves and whatever, but you need to back it off your own opinions. But I mean, if you just follow us, you'll probably do all right anyway. I will share all my bets for each of the 3 days. I'm flying away on Friday, so I'll get everything out at Final Decks, I guess, when I start betting a few of them. So I'll let you know how much I've staked. I'll let you know what we've gone with. Fingers crossed we'll do all right. And then, Jamie, I guess we'll be back for Punchestown, right?
Yep.
Yes, happy days. Right. Any final words?
See you at Punchestown.
See you at Punchestown. Thank you as always for your time, mate. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you very soon.